Something that we all deal with in our day-to-day lives is sound. And for audio engineers, we even deal with it a little bit more. Like, it's coming out of our speakers, and it is something weird because we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can hear it though, and we can kind of feel it. But the way that we hear a certain sound is dependent on how we feel emotionally, and also dependent on what we're looking at and what we believe about that sound. Our ears are super easy to manipulate. And because of that, there is a lot of confusion happening. And a few people sent me an interesting Instagram clip with some of this confusion. So today we're going to find out if this is actually confusion or if there's actually something going on. So let's get started. All right, so let's watch the video that was sent to me. This is it. It's called the Unfortunate Truth About Your Audio Interface.
Unfortunately, it seems from all the testing that I've done and files that people have sent me that the actual system that you have plugged in or the clock selection that you have when you make an in-the-box digital bounce, unfortunately does affect the sound.
That's weird. I would say it's weird. I'm not saying that I'm not believing him. I've seen and heard a lot of stuff around audio, and sometimes things come from a really weird direction. Changing your clock makes a difference. I mean, the last test I did was 13 or 14 years ago. I don't know how much difference it makes nowadays, but back then, changing the clock really made a difference. Yeah, and we did test that. But he's talking about internal bounces. I would say that's just sample for sample, and it doesn't matter if the sample comes later or earlier because it will be registered as the next sample. Maybe for plugins that look ahead or something, but yeah, that they are also... It breaks my brain a little bit thinking about this.
This is something I thought when I was younger, and then I thought maybe they kind of fixed it where if you just loaded up your laptop, did with your internal sound card, made a bounce, as long as you weren't using any outboard gear, it would be the same exact sound.
Yeah.
But
I would say that.
I don't know whether it ever was or whether it wasn't, but I mean, I've had countless producers, guys that do some pretty big records, hit me up specifically because I'm a digital ones and zeros dork, and send me their files and be like, why aren't these the same? The only difference was I did a revision from my home system with an Apollo and my studio system with something else, and
he did it from his home system with an Apollo. So not even the built-in interface, just a different professional audio interface and his studio system, which I suspect is also a professional interface.
They definitely don't sound the same. All the same versions of all the same plugins, minimal stuff. No variables, and you can test it by, if you have an external clock in your system or internal clock, which I have both in mine.
I have it over here. Yeah.
I've made bounces with the external clock and the internal clock, just bouncing a digital file with some plugins on it.
Yeah.
They are not the same. They do not null.
They do not null. I mean, there are a million reasons why something does not null. And some reasons do not affect the sound. For instance, in my second DAW test, I'll link that over here, I had a noise floor, which was basically dithering noise. And dithering noise is always different. It's randomized. So I wouldn't say there's an audible difference in something like that. Anyway.
This is not the way digital is really supposed to work. And this is not the way they told us it works.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Unfortunately, this is how it works. And there's lots of quirks regarding digital stuff. Obviously, Bob Horn had that thing go viral about the meters in Pro Tools sound different and all that.
Yeah, we debunked that. And it's just not true. And since he's about null tests, he could have tested that as well.
But when you're doing a final bounce and the client has you make a quick revision from your home computer versus your studio computer, and that's the one that's going to get sent off to mastering, that little difference might not be so little. So it's just a good thing for people to know. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people that want to hate on all this. And it's like,
let's not hate on this. Let's start with not hating on this. I think it's cool to analyze these things because I really understand where statements like this come from. Our ears are very easy to be fooled. It's very difficult to do a very absolute test when it comes to our hearing. All right, let's test this. So what he basically said was doing a bounce internally in your computer. So I have a drum bounce here, actually from a different video. I don't know if that one is yet public by the time you're watching this, but from a different video, I have a drum bounce here. And I have some plugins on there. But yeah, it's just a drum bounce. And what I did is I routed this internally to a bus that I'm then recording the output of. So this was basically what he was doing. So I'm online bouncing this. So bouncing is like this, like literally recording it in the session, as you can see here. And then I'm offline exporting this because I want to take that out of the equation as well. I'm offline exporting this to somewhere on my hard drive. And then I change my audio device to my ADI2 Pro. So I normally use my HDSPE MADI FX a PCI card that basically sends the signals to everywhere in the studio where it needs to be. I also have my ADI2 reference converter connected directly over USB. So I selected that one and I made it clock on the internal clock. Normally it's slaving to the external one. So I made it to the internal clock, which should give us a different clock. So I bounced the file from that as well. And I bounced a file using my Mac Mini speaker, so the internal sound card of the Mac Mini. I also tried to use the HDMI box or the LG display that I have over here as audio interface and thus as clock source, but they don't go up until 96 kilohertz. And if I do it at 48, then we get the differences of those different sample rates already. So that's an unfair test. So first of all, I made 2 bounces of the first setup. So my total studio setup, my normal setup, I made 2 separate bounces just because I want to know what the difference are between 2 separated bounces. Maybe the plugins do something different on the second bounce or something. I want to know that because otherwise we might be measuring something different. And what I want to do is a null test. But before I'm going to do that, I quickly want to say that if you want to support the channel and the independence of my channel, make sure to check out my merch store where you can get the vacuum tube shirt and some other stuff. It's ytshop.com. Now, the way that a null test works is basically we're going to look at the differences between 2 digital files. So I have 2 files in here and I want to know the difference between the 2. So what I'm doing is I'm playing back one file as it is and the other file inverted, polarity flipped. So when the waveform of the first signal goes up, the waveform of the second signal goes down. And if they are exactly the same, the sum of these 2 waveforms should be 0. It should be the null, basically. So if we now get no signal on playback, that means that these 2 files here are exactly the same. Not a little bit the same, not a discussion point. This is as scientific as it gets. So let's see what happens when we press play. It's very silent now. My master bus converter is actually outputting minus infinite amount of decibels, which means that there's no signal. Now what I want to do as an extra verification is boost this by 150 decibels. And I'm now boosting it and I'm still getting minus infinite everywhere. So what that means is that these 2 files, which is basically our verification test, these 2 files are exactly the same. It nulls. And there's only one reason why something nulls. There are a million reasons why something doesn't null, but there's only one reason why something nulls. It's exactly the same file. Now let's compare this, the total system bounce with just a single converter bounce. We're still comparing 2 professional word clocks and professional converters together. Yeah, let's go for it. There's no signal, nothing. Infinite, minus infinite over here. If we boost it by 150 decibels, we're still minus infinite. So, files are the same. Now, let's compare, one of these files, because they're all the same, with the internal Mac Mini clock, which is basically if you are on the road and you need to change a mix and bounce that to a client or to a friend or whatever, or for your own project or whatever, this is probably the converter that you're going to use. It's the easiest one to use. So let's see professional RME setup compared to the Mac Mini M1 whatever. Silence. That's very underwhelming. Okay, let's do the 150 decibel boost. We're still at minus infinite everywhere with 150 decibels extra. Nothing. Literally nothing. This is a very, very clear null. What that means, at least for Reaper, is that there's no difference. However, the guy in this video said that in his testing, there was no null. I would love to hear the result of that null test. Like, I want to know I want to know what's going on here, basically, because logically speaking, it should null. The test that I did gave the results that I was expecting from thinking very logically. So if there's no null, there's something weird going on. I want to know what it is. I think, there's a million reasons why something doesn't null. So I would love to know what the result of that null test is. What's the resulting file? And digging deeper in that, like what is going on here? Because I can clearly see, at least when it comes to Reaper, there's no difference. There's really no difference. There's really nothing. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you're worrying about the clocking of your interface affecting your internal bounds, don't worry about it and just focus on making a super cool song. Because that's what it's all about. Let's focus on the music. If you like this video and want to support me, consider using my affiliate links. They're in the description down below. I'll also link them over here. If you want to purchase something new, for instance, a new audio interface, which you're not gonna need, first click on my link and then do your purchase. It automatically works in the background. Just click on the link, then navigate to the product that you need, add it to your cart, or even if it's already added to your cart, you can just click on the link, then go to your cart and check out. You're not paying anything extra, but I do get a small commission. You're supporting the channel for free. Another way to support me is by becoming a channel member. You can do that starting at 99 cents per month. Gives you a little star behind your name, showing everybody that you are a supporter of the independence of this channel. There's also an early access tier and an exclusive content tier, which I'm going to link over here. The last way to support me and the whole YouTube platform is watching more videos. So link an interesting video over here. Thanks a lot for watching. Keep pushing and bye bye.